Lisa here at Ngozi Talk Shows. Find your own voice, lead from within. So, with me today, I'm with Amanda Marie and Grant Morel. How are you guys?
Good. It's back to school, so it's busy, busy.
No, and all good this end.
Yeah, back to school. For me, is I'm finding it very strange because my daughter, she's started walking by herself, and the other one went to uni on Sunday. So
Oh,
it's those big changes for me. I'm like, okay, and
no,
now I just have to get up in the morning and go to the office. So it's very, very strange.
that's odd. Yeah, that is odd.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. And she was asking for the keys, Amanda. She goes, because I'm walking to school, am I going to get the keys? I was like, when you get home, I've got to be at home. Let's go not that far. She goes, oh, I need my keys for my door.
That's strange. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to this topic, how to support your child through anxiety. Anxiety is a natural part of life, but for some children, it can become overwhelming and interfere with their daily routine, school performance, and relationships. So, as a parent, caregiver, it can be difficult to watch your child struggle and not always know how to help. But the good news is that you can support, make a significant difference by understanding the signs of anxiety, creating a safe and open environment for them, and creating learning effective strategies can empower both you and your child to face challenges with confidence. So this guide today is going to help you how to explore practical ways you can support your child through anxiety, helping them build resilience and emotional strength along the way. I know, Grant, you haven't got children, so you're going to be talking about your children based on the coaches, because you have coached parents who have got children. So
Yeah.
before we came on, guys, Grant was like, I don't have children. I was like, no, you do. You have, because you have nieces, you have nephews, and you have children of like your clients that have got kids, and you have friends who've got kids. So
I have
somehow,
friends that
somehow we have crossed paths with these problems, and you've helped the children as well.
well, the interesting part is, I mean, really, people, adults are just grown-up children, and
Yeah.
we're not as grown up as we think. Because in the world of coaching, we have an expression: emotions high, intelligence low. And it's never a truer word has ever been said. When we get emotionally charged, our intelligence goes out the window. So it is about managing that, and maturity is not something you can learn; it's something you experience. Um, but we are all triggered at times, and we become a lot younger in that moment, and not we don't always use things to the best of our advantage. But we are all, I mean, you listen to, I watch people very closely, you listen to documentaries, and you hear adults reduced to children who are in moments when they're emotionally charged. And it is because of all the things that you're going to cover here today. So, yeah, things cross over very much, actually, when you think about it. But over to you, Nomsa. Over to you.
Amanda?
Oh, well, being a teacher, there's definitely lots of
You've
experience
got loads of kids.
with kids, yeah, kids with anxiety. And I know as a parent too, with an anxiety disorder, that the biggest thing for helping kids is to also help the parents first, like manage their anxiety, right? Because the kids feed off of that energy. And so when you're anxious as the parent, then the kids feed off of that energy, and then they also become more anxious. And also that anxiety, from what they know, is hereditary. And when I look at it, like my grandma was hospitalized for anxiety. I've got a whole bunch of alcoholism in my family, which is like self-diagnosing anxiety, right? And so they are self-medicating anxiety, sorry. And so when I look at it, it's really about how do I first, as the parent or as the teacher, manage my anxiety so that the kids aren't absorbing that anxiety, right? And when I can keep myself calm and centered, then they're going to be a lot more calm and centered because I'm giving off that calm and centered energy. And so, too, when you start to get like worried about something, does it not affect every other area of your life? And so how do we like set that worry aside so we can focus on the things that need to get done? Or look at it as like, is this worry actually something that's going to be a worry in a year from now, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now? And if it's not, then it's like, okay, we can set that aside and we can focus on the present moment. And so those would be some of the things that I would like start with for sure, to really get people grounded in like, it's not like dealing with my kids' anxiety. It's like, really, how am I showing up first? And then how can I then maintain a calm space so that I can help my kids navigate that too.
Yeah, I think it's really, really important, like what you both have said. Like, my children have never suffered from anxiety,
Good.
but because what I do is when I see them struggling with something like sometimes the anxiety can start with the GCSEs. UK is so hard for torturing the children when it comes to GCSEs, when it comes to A levels, because I think they have this thing where the children know that if I don't get this, I'm not gonna do that. So they start stressing, and it's just become a nightmare. Every child that I talk to, they're like, is that thing where you know that if I don't get this results, others will be going to uni, I won't be going to uni. And when I'm doing the exams, the minute I pick up the pen, that's what I think about.
Really.
And they are all saying the same thing. And which is really, really stressful. For me, it's just to staying calm and just like I always tell my children that you can always do what you can. There's some things that in life that you can never ever try to control, but there's a different anxiety that is genetic and the anxiety that just shows up on its own. So that genetic anxiety sometimes it can force someone to take their own life. But how do you then grant as a coach guide parents to deal with that? And I know there's someone that close to you, and for me as well, I know people like one of my friend, she took her own life. Um, yeah, and actually another family member as well on marriage, my grandmother's side. Yeah, so how do you then support parents if they have that kind of genetic anxiety? Because that one is unavoidable.
Genetic anxiety is, well, there's anxiety and there's stress. So there's different things. So um, stress is normally about things that have happened. Anxiety is anticipation of what may happen. And I emphasize the word may because it may not. um, Mark Twain once famously said, "In life, we worry about an awful lot of things, some of which actually happen." Meaning that most of the things we worry about, we could save ourselves all the bother if only we knew that it's never going to come to happen anyway. So why bother worrying about it? But of course, we don't know that, and we don't. And if you're anxious, you're anxious. There can be many reasons for anxiety. It can be genetic. It can be transferred in the womb. So it can trauma, which is a different subject, but can be it can be generational. It's cited that in parts of the brain we can inherit trauma from past relatives that we've never met. Example, if you had an unnatural fear of stepping off a train, for example, why? Could be because your great grandparents stepped off a train and broke their leg. Trains years ago, remember the doors used to open while you was moving, right? You could open doors and you could have stepped off and that trauma could have been passed on. That can happen through the brain. Allegedly, there's a school of thought, and it doesn't sound like nonsense. It does sound actually, once you understand about the brain and neurology, it's not that I'm a world leading expert on it, but I have a rudimentary understanding. It is feasible. So you can inherit things. You can inherit things, as we know from childbirth. There's the whole theory of listening to classical music while pregnant to pass that allegedly calming. Not all classical music is calming, of course, but the concept that it is calming, most of it can pass that on to a child. Trauma, conflict in a marriage while pregnant can allegedly be passed on. My take on that, and I'm not an expert on that, so I'm not going to cite an opinion over and above the fact that I would say that it could be true, because we know that two people could experience the same situation. One will be affected by it, another one may not. So there's no absolutes in this. There's no absolutes. We in the coaching industry we use this story, which is a notional story, but actually I have met people who have been through this. But the story is of two brothers. One, and their parents, their father, let's say, example, was an alcoholic who beat up his mother. Yeah? One grows up to be an alcoholic and beats his wife. And when questioned, he said, "Well, if you went through what I went through, you'd be the same." The other brother is a model parent and an absolute saint to his wife. When questioned why, he said, "If you had the upbringing I had, you wouldn't want your children or your wife to suffer that." So he wanted to be the complete antithesis. He's like, "To hell with that. When I start grow up, I get out of here. I'm never having that again." It's a question of attitude, and sometimes we can choose the way we react to things. I'm not saying everybody can. Some people have the ability to choose the way to they choose to react the way that they choose to react to something. And some people, we are victims of something. It can be your what's known as your locus of control. You can hear it in people's language. Some people will talk and they will say about life happens to some people, right? They're a victim of what life happens to them. And some people make life happen. They're like, "The hell with this, I'm going to do this, and that's it, and I'm going to do it." And they do it, irrespective of what's happened to them. And I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm just saying that we tend to fall in one category. And there's lots of mitigating circumstances. So if you're having a bad time, I'm not saying to you, pull up your bootstraps and get it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I understand life. We experience life differently. And that's that. So one person can experience anxiety, one person cannot. My mother was fairly anxious, a lovely lady, but she'd sit there and worry about things that didn't matter, really didn't. She'd sit there and do this kind of, not all the time, but occasionally she would do it. And once she had a few things to get done, and I said to her, "Okay, well that's fixed. We've done that. We've done that. We've done that." And she sat there. Right, I said, "So that's it. Nothing. Right, it's all done." And she sat there and twiddled her thumbs. Then said, "Right, what's next to worry about?" I said, "Nothing, nothing. You haven't got to have things to worry about. For God's sake." She only ever said that once, but I do remember it. And I can get anxious, and I'm sure I inherit that. I can get angry. Some things I'm so laid back, I'm so horizontal. It's like, how can you be so relaxed about it? But some things I get anxious about. And I'm sure, we've got genes, for goodness sake. We're going to pass some of this stuff on. But my mother wasn't a complete worry guts, but she just tended to be a little bit more worrisome than my father. Let's put it that way. And there's always going to be one person in a marriage who's a little bit more worrisome. So don't get me wrong, she wasn't like crazy or anything, but she just tended to be a little bit more like that. But anxiety can come about, and especially again in those teenage years, can't you? I mean, I have extensive experience of children because I was one, and and this is what we say at personal development seminars. Has anybody got children? No. Does anybody know people got children yet? Has anyone ever been a child themselves? Yeah, we have. And I can remember it's a bewildering time. Growing up and puberty and those teenage years can be bewildering times. Your body is literally changing and getting charged with chemicals that you didn't ask to be there. And you're trying to find your sense of belonging. You're trying to know yourself in literally a new skin. It's difficult. It can be difficult transition for some kids, and identity is a big word. What is your identity? I was talking about this at a police meeting the other day. We were talking about crime figures and things like this, and I say everybody needs identity. Um, and let's take the classic example: the kid who starts getting into trouble, and that could be girls or boys. Um, it's you need an identity as you grow up. You get scrutinized. You become aware of your body. For young girls, they become aware of prettiness, makeup, and this kind of whole thing going on. Guys, there's a kind of a strength thing going on, and where do you fit in with that hierarchy? It's all nonsense, but it's there, and how do you fit in? So you need an identity. Who are you? As kids, do you become the joker? Do you become the tough guy? Do you become the funny one, the smart one? Who are you? What are you? What music do you listen to? What clothes you wear? What words you use? Who do you follow? Who do you identify yourself with? And it's a bewildering maze when you're also dealing with school, changing examinations, and all the stuff you mentioned. So enormous empathy for kids, and yeah, I know what it's like. I was one, and yeah, indeed, my late sister had kids, quite, and was very much a mother, completely committed member. That was nearly a year ago, guys. She passed
Mhm.
very nearly a year ago. You remember that one? We talked about that on the show. Um,
Yeah, how old are her kids?
what was the question, Numser?
How old are they, the kids now?
Well, you're going to put me on the spot now, aren't you? How old are they? They would be very nearly 26, very nearly 26, very nearly 24, and coming up for 22. Right.
Yeah, I
So they're
think
not they're not children, they're young adults now. They're young adults, so they're okay. But yeah, I mean, it seems
the
no time
loss of
ago
their
at all
mother
that
as well.
those having the nappies changed.
Yeah, the loss of their mom as well could actually trigger the anxiety. It doesn't matter how
Absolutely,
old you are.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And when I lost my mother, I clearly must have gone through a depression. I'm sure I did because um, I, I I felt very, very low for good 6 months, I would say. I was completely lost. Really felt completely lost. My business, I did the bare minimum in my business, and it kind of limped through. And if I just got through the next day, then that was success. That was all I was asking for about
Mhm.
6 months. I just lived through it. I was existing, and that was fine because if I got through that, that was a successful day. I was just like a caveman. If you get some food inside you and sleep, and you don't get mauled to death by a big animal, then that was a successful day. Um, and that was it. I was okay. I could laugh, I could joke, but I was very reflective and sad about what happened. It's the grief process, and it took a while, but it clearly I went through a depression. I think on the let's remember the sequence of events. I just split up with my girlfriend just before that as well. So bam, bam, bam. I had about three things that hit me really all in one. And I never went to a doctor. Um, I don't think I need to. It was nothing wrong with me. I was just experienced grief,
Mhm.
really. But did that cause anxiety? No, I think anxiety, probably not the right word, but more depression. I was just a bit depressed, not massively, but I was a bit depressed, and I was just working things out. Is the way I would look at it? I was just working things out, and I did. And after about 6 months, because obviously I've been in the coaching industry for quite a while, I went a bit, inactive during that time. I did the bare minimum, as I said. because I didn't feel I could put my best into it. I wasn't my normal exuberant self. But after about 6 months, I think it came to about. Do you know what? It actually wasn't as long as 6 months. I don't think it wasn't as long as that. But after a while, I thought that's enough. It's time to get out there, start going to seminars again. And then I became a seminar junkie and I just threw myself into lots and lots and lots of seminars. And that became kind of like a new family for me in a sense. And I really overdosed on that, went on course and course. And that's when my coaching industry really, my business sort of really took off from there. But yeah, I understand when people go through things because I've been through some stuff myself. I approach it a little bit differently now because I did a lot of soul searching, and because of my line of work, I've got some tools to run myself through. But we're not immune to the stuff. We're not immune. We experience life the same as other people. We just may have some other tools to help us process it. Is what I would say.
I was listening to a podcast yesterday. I think it was Mel Robbins' podcast, but I can't remember which one I was listening to. And the lady that she had on talked about how when you go through something, like look at your life in general, and like a third of the time you're probably like pretty happy and things are like pretty good, and then
Yeah.
a third of the time things are like, man, like they're not bad, they're not good, you're just kind of like existing, and then like another third of the time you're probably like struggling with something and need to like overcome it no matter like who you are. Right, if you look at your life like as a whole. And it's those like really struggle times that help you recognize the really happy times and help with your growth. And I was like, that's so interesting to think about when you think about like the things that where you get stuck for a while, right? And you're like, oh, I'm feeling stuck, or I'm feeling like I need to work through this really horrible event that's happened. But if you look at your life over the course of like a while, I bet you can find what she talks about where it's a third of the time you're like quite happy, like things are really good, and then a third of the time it's just kind of like meh, and then a third of the time like it's like, oh, I've got this big struggle that I need to overcome. And I was like, that's so interesting because I can definitely see where that has popped up throughout my life, but then also how now, because I have different tools, when something is keeping me really stuck or like getting me into like an anxious state, I'm able to get myself out of it so much easier because I have the tools of like going to the gym to like deal with my anxiety, or going to yoga or meditating or making sure I'm eating healthy, making sure I have a routine. These are all things that you can do for yourself to make sure if you are feeling really anxious to help get yourself out of that anxious state. And even for kids too, like routine is so important. That helps them because then they know what's coming next. In the classroom, having on the board what we're doing that day is really important, especially for those kids that are worried about change. I had a couple kids in grade 5 yesterday who are teary coming in because it was their first day, because it's a transition, it's a change. Summer's done, we have to get back into the routine of school. So my job as their teacher is to be like, how can I make this transition as smooth as possible and make our classroom community feel as welcoming as possible? Because going from school to no school to school is a big transition for kids. And we as adults sometimes forget about how anxious you can feel of starting something new, because we haven't started something new for a really long time. And I think about the beginning of the school year as like a fresh start. And it's like starting a new job, right? Like when you start a new job, like everything's different. When you get a new teacher, everything's different. You have different people in your class, you have different expectations, you have different routines in the classroom, because of, even for me as a teacher, it's like my music time changes or my gym time changes, or the classroom dynamics is just different because of who's in the room, and learning how to navigate that. So I always look at the beginning of the school year as this like fresh start, and I always don't sleep well the night before the first day of school, even though I've been teaching for like over 20, like almost 20 years, because I graduated in in 2006 from like university. And so it's really, really interesting. I haven't like been teaching full time the whole time, but it's really, really interesting how even this long into my career, I still struggle with sleep the first day of school. I still like plan out my outfit the first day of school, like, and try to like have a really great fresh start each and every year. And so I think when we're looking at anxiety, we can look at it like, is it situational? Is it something that's ongoing? Is it something that's caused by certain external factors? And so when it's like a situation, it could be like, oh, it's the start of school. I'm feeling a little anxious about this. If it's something long term, it might be anxiety and depression are really connected, right? That's why SSRIs are used for both. They're used for anxiety and they're used for depression. And I've been on them before anxiety before, but I know they're also diagnosed for depression as well. I don't use them anymore because I've found lots of natural ones that work better, but it is like a tool, right? And that's for a situation that you may need to help yourself get out of. And then is it something that's you just like maybe hereditary and you might be struggling with your entire life? And then how can you set up your lifestyle so that that anxiety isn't crippling you? Because certain times in my life, I've had like crippling anxiety where it's like, it's really hard to even get out of bed. And so that part is hard, right? But when you can start getting yourself into routines and everything, that it goes away. Or if you wake up and you feel like you have a brick on your chest, it might not be that you're that anything's wrong with you. It might just be anxiety, right? And you might have to find ways that you can mitigate that. And so I know for myself when things are starting to feel more anxious, I'll wake up and I'll feel like I have a brick on my chest and that's hard to breathe. So I'll focus on like breathing and just like, okay, can I breathe and breathe like really deep, like breaths all the way into my stomach and that'll help alleviate that pressure that it feels like on my chest. And so even when children, like I've had children have like a test anxiety and they're just like hyperventilating because they're stressed about the test. And I'm like, okay, breathe with me. That's our first thing is like, just can you breathe? Like the test doesn't matter, just breathe, right? This is not something that's going to be important in 5 years. So like you shouldn't let it get you this upset. And so I think sometimes too, we just like hyper focus. And when we hyper focus on something that is stressing us out, that's where anxiety comes in. And if we can step back and realize that that test or that situation isn't going to be as detrimental in 5 years, then we can gain a better perspective and be able to shift ourselves out of that like stressful moment that's like almost crippling. Do you see that people in business, Grant, where they like get crippled or they just can't like move on because they're stuck?
Yeah.
How do you help them get out of it?
People get stuck in a range of things. It's either what happens to them, they don't know what to do, they don't have the tools to move on. And this happens in all areas of business. You know, you get to a point, I don't know how to do that. Well, the good thing is you can build teams. You know, I run teams of people doing all kinds of things that I wouldn't have a clue. I just know they can do it and say, can you fix that? Do that. But I'm a bit of a bit of a conductor really of an orchestra. You know, I put things together and build people around me. But people get stuck. Micro businesses to get stuck because they feel they got to do everything themselves. I don't understand when they say I'm stressed. I'm doing the bookkeeping. I'm like, why? Why are you doing it? I don't understand. Well, it's my business. I'm like, yeah, yeah, but why are you doing it? You're not a bookkeeper, are you? Get a bookkeeper. It's tax deductible. So why are you giving yourself that stress? Give that to someone who loves doing that. You know, that's my view. And oh, saving money. I'm like, yeah, but you're not actually. You're thinking too small. You should be spending that time doing what you do well, whether you're a carpenter, an accountant, a coach, whatever it is you do. Spend your time doing that. That's get to understand the rudiments of it is a good thing, but don't get caught in the minutiae of it because it's not the best use of your time. But you need to, you know, work on your mindset. Some people won't give in because of, again, their upbringing is learn to do everything yourself. You want it done properly, do it yourself. You can never grow like that. You can't grow like that. It's just it's a mathematical impossibility. You cannot. It reaches critical mass, and other people need to do things. So you need to learn to manage yourself and your emotions to let go of those things. So, but someone else is doing it. I was in a meeting the other day, and someone challenged that has been done, and I'm like, why are you asking me? I don't do it. They do. I asked them to do it. Why haven't they done it? And I said, I don't know. Ask them. I don't know. What are you asking me? You know, I'm in charge of it, but I ask them. I don't just ping them an email and say, hey, any follow up on that? I don't know. You know, just that's it. You have to. A lot of people don't learn how to think. I'll say that again. A lot of people don't learn how to think. They learn how to do things. They don't learn how to think. Critical thinking, emotional intelligence. A lot of people don't. They are the real masters of how to navigate this life. If you can do that, it's massively important, and it's greatly, greatly undertaught. So that's what I try and bring in my work. What do I see with people? Childhood trauma. Um, Trauma can be anything. Technically, I'm not sure I agree with this, but technically, trauma can be anything from someone going, "You're stupid," could traumatize some people, as opposed to a really horrific trauma, which I don't even want to go into. You know, someone could have had something like that. So it's how you interpret it, and as again, it may bother one person and not remotely bother the next. I used to coach a lady, and she wouldn't grow in her business too much because she felt she wasn't worthy. Explored this. Why is she not worthy? Because she's bad. What have you done that's bad? My mother told me I was bad. She was forced to stand outside the house in the dark. She wasn't in danger. The mother was just in the dark because she'd been bad. I'm like, when was this? When she was 3 years old. I'm like, what did you do? I was naughty in the house. What do you think? I said, well, maybe you was naughty, yeah. Why? What? You 3 years old? I said, but like, I was naughty, I think, when I was three. I must have been naughty. All kids are naughty at some point, right? Yeah, well, it doesn't make you a naughty adult, does it? And she's like, well, I don't know. I think my mum still resents me. Did your mum say that? No. Have you asked your mum? She said, no. I said, ask her. Go and ask your mother, do you still resent me? And I said, you know what the answer was. I mean, this woman was about 47 years old. And when she asked her mother, I said, what happened? I don't even remember. And I said, there you are. You've been beating yourself up for what, 44 years about something that your mother doesn't even remember. And perhaps you were naughty at that moment on that day 3 years ago. I bet your daughters have been naughty at some point, right? And you were naughty too. We do naughty things sometimes. It doesn't make you bad. You was just part of the growing and you got corrected. But for some reason in her mind, she remembered that. And she thought from that day onwards, her mother was saying, you're a bad person. And therefore, she doesn't deserve to have good things and wouldn't grow her business. She put a psychological break on it because of that. And it changed after that. Crazy sounding, I know, when you apply logic. But again, intelligence high, emotions go low. So we must always question how we build our beliefs, because we built our beliefs often in a time when our brain wasn't properly formulated. All right? Yeah, we're looking at things like this. So information given. Some people won't sell, they won't talk. I was in a meeting the other day with stakeholders from the community. This is really interesting. And I saw this automatic default session that goes on. Da 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 da. I'm hosting the meeting. Here we are, everybody. Blah 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 blah. And these people talk all loud. Blah 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 blah. blah. I said, there's a few new people. We don't know each other. Can we just go around the table, introduce who we are, what organisation we represent, and what we do? As soon as I went round, everyone went, yes. I didn't hear anyone. Everybody mumbled and went quiet. And I thought, why do people do it? I know why. Amanda, you must see it every day. Timothy, stand up and tell us the answer to that question. And Timothy felt stupid because he was talking to his friend. He doesn't know the answer. When he doesn't know, all the other kids laugh. He feels humiliated. So when we say, please explain to everybody that, then mine goes back to that school and they'll go, these are stakeholders of the community, very successful people. We're like children. We revert to childhood all the time. I saw it. I saw it just the other night, and I'm like, I know what's going on here.
I'm just gonna pipe in just for a second because I know, like in the classroom, like if you know your kids, there are kids that you can call on and like say, like, hey, like answer, I know you weren't paying attention, like stop fooling around, and it won't bother them at all. But then
Right.
there are other kids that are like, if you called them out like that, they would be in tears and it would like manifest in their head for like days, right? Or weeks or years or like decades.
Yes.
And so I think the thing with being a teacher and even being a parent is like knowing which kids are okay if you call them out and the ones that would like internalize that as like a trauma. And so I think our job as teachers and as parents and as coaches is to know which of our clients or students or people that we work with or our children are going to internalize that, and the ones that are going to just like brush it off and like not even give it a second thought. And that's how it's really like difficult sometimes to navigate things, is unless you have built a really strong relationship and you understand which people need like this kind of push and which people need like a gentle little like guidance reminder.
Right.
And I think that's something that's, it's really being like aware of your surroundings, aware of who your clientele are, aware of who your students are, aware of who your children are, because children show up in this world with very different needs and personalities. And as a parent, you're gonna, one thing that you do for one child is gonna like really help them, and if you do the same thing for a different child, it's going to traumatize them. And so it's like knowing who those children are so that you can choose how to like support them in the best way based on who they are internally. I think that's an important point to note, because I know which kids even already after one day that I can call out for fooling around, and which ones I'm gonna have to give like gentle reminders to like stay on track.
Right. Yeah. And you're absolutely right, Amanda. You know, different people need different things. And I remember uh, some boss I had somewhere asked us all, how do you like feedback? Oh, I remember it. Yeah. Do you like it like, hey, Nomsa, that was rubbish. Like you can do much better. What you need to do is that. Do you need it right smack in the face? Do you need man, that was awesome, man. That was really great. And da 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 da. And, how could you make it any better? That was great. Or do you need it like, and I'm kind of like in the middle guy. Oh, the whole sandwich and all analogy, isn't it? Right? I'm not even going to use the full expression, but it's like, and I often say to people, what I really liked, so I have to give feedback on presentations for people, right? I say, what I love about your presentation was great. You covered that. Your engagement with the audience was really good, wasn't it, guys? Yep, that was really great. Love that. If I'm looking for anything that could have been even better, yeah, I mean, like that part there, perhaps you could have done it like this, and that would have made it even more powerful, and that was good. But overall, I really thought it was fantastic. Give them a big hand. So good, bad, good. But I say it diplomatically because that's probably the way I'd like it to be for me. So we tend to give people the preference that we choose ourselves. Same in love language, right? Some people love gifts. If you like receiving gifts, I bet you give a load of gifts to your partner, right? That's what you do. But they may not like gifts. They might like words, right? So it's about using the language that other people need. So understanding them, like you said, Amanda, what does that kid need, And we're all different. But I think if you go somewhere in the middle, you can't go too far wrong if you're not sure if you can't analyze the preference. But for kids, it's communication, isn't it? It's communication. You've got the default position that they're learning new things. And again, as a kid, when you learn something new, you make the mistake of thinking you're the first person in the world. You and your friends have discovered this new thing. It's like we've changed the world. We've learned, and parents are old and stupid. They're never going to understand this. Not to realise they experienced and learned it for the first time 30 years before. It's that kind of thing. So how do you deal with that nonsense when you've got kids growing up and they're going through this and they're telling you how life should be because of course, they've experienced everything. How does that work?
For me, when my children challenges me, I have to sit down with them, find out, I give them the opportunity to actually explain to me why they feel that life should be. And also, what I avoid is arguments with children, because some parents, they'll go on arguing with the kids, and me, I don't. If a child does not understand that moment, I leave them alone, because, and then I'll go back to the conversation for them to have a picture of why is it important. And also have to explain that as parents, we don't know everything. Sometimes 99% we make things along as we go along. Yeah, so I have to explain to them that, listen, there's no need for you to argue. The importance, I will tell them the importance about the future and the importance of, if they don't understand something, just to ask, because sometimes people, like my daughter, she loves doing art. But the other day she was saying we put all her pictures. You can see her pictures behind there as well. When I'm live, I can see them. And she was complaining that nobody cares about her pictures. So I said to her, are we talking about no one cares, or is there something else you would like to do about your art? She was so frustrated. And I was like, oh, you mean you want to get classes? But if you want to take classes, you got to say it out loud, Mommy, I want to take classes, not to say nobody cares. So I had to
Right.
type, and then we went online. I had to find the classes for her, because I know she loves drawing, she loves arts. And in my family, both my dad's side and my mother's side, my mom, she's a fashion designer. And on my dad's side, we have a professional fashion designer as well. So we've got both my mom and my dad. So I understand the importance of bloodline. Like when we began the talk show, Grant, you did say that sometimes the anxiety can be transferred through the womb. It can be through birth, because a child inherits their mother's spirit, and then from their father they inherit the blood. So you have to be able, for me, I look at my family. In my family, we don't have laws going on actually. We're very simple. We don't have like laws of sickness, or things that are really, really creepy. So I look at my family, and then I look at their family, just to really trying to understand the things that I need to deal with when helping them out. Because that does show up, like you said, Grant, that sometimes the children may be fighting anxiety or for trauma for somebody who died a long time ago. And in my church, that's what they teach, that sometimes you could be like being in a stagnant life based on jealousy, or some people who died, or you could going through pain for somebody who went through that similar pain a long time ago, and it's now showing up to your generation. So it's really, really, really important to actually, and also, like for me, I'm very, very, I always make sure I'm on the good side with the teachers as well, so they can support my children.
How'd
I
you do that, Nomsa? How'd you do that? How'd you get on the good
I
side?
don't interfere with the teachers. I always make sure that they know that when my child is at school, they are the parents. They know that. I always let them know that because I'm not here, you are the parent. You get to do the work. If there's something that you need to be changed with my daughter, don't get frustrated in taking on her, or getting frustrated telling her off. Let me know. I'll work with you to make some changes in life with her, the process. And I find it makes it very easy. The teachers, they favor my children, because they know I don't interfere. And also when there's opportunities, they'll always come and tell me that, Nomsa, there is opportunities. Or if my child is struggling with something, they have the courage to sit down with me and talk to me. Or if my child is behaving different, copying their other friends, they can tell, that's not Nomsa's child, this one, what is going on, and they'll get to the bottom of it. Or if their dad is trying to make the rules behind my back at school to say, oh, you know what, not you, Granty, like you're an uncle, you know how men are like. You guys, we could say to your nieces and nephews, oh, you take it easy. You can quit that. If you don't like it, you can quit that. And they'll go to school and her dad will be like, yeah, you can quit. It's fine. But the teachers can tell that Nomsa's character does not do this. So where does this come from? So they would then try to call me and say, they're trying to quit this. Are you involved in it? I'm like, no, I'm not. So then I have to try now to sit down with, like my daughter, she's gone to performing arts, big opportunity for her. If I wasn't involved, she wouldn't have had that opportunity. I don't know how many times her dad tried to say, oh, you can quit that, you can quit that. Now he's like, oh, I was always there, support. I was like, no, you were trying to make your child to quit. Yeah, because the girls with their dad. If a child goes to her dad and say, you know what, this is hard, dad is like, oh, you can quit.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things where anxiety comes in, right? Is like, but if you push through that anxiety and you like actually take it to finish, my rule has always been if you start something, you finish it. If you don't want to do it again after, fine. But like you have to see it through to completion. So if you're in a swimming class, you go to every swimming class until it's done. If you're in volleyball, you go to every volleyball thing until it's done. And that's always been my rule. It's like, no matter what, we're going to just finish the course and then you can like go and do something else after. But I always think it's important to like make sure the kid shows up and just be like, you can't decide if you like it or not until you've actually seen it through to completion. That's something that's really important because if I let my daughter quit every time she said she didn't want to do anything, we would have walked in the first door, the like first day of everything and never gone back to like everything.
I'm learning.
When she'd be like, I have a tummy ache, I'd be like, fine, go to school. And if you really have a tummy ache later, like call me and I'll come and get you. They'll call me at the school and they'll let me come and get you. And never once did I ever go and get her because she had a tummy ache. But almost every single day before school, in like elementary school, she'd be like, I have a tummy ache. I'm like, okay, go to school. And when you have a tummy ache at school, then you can, but that's a form of anxiety, right? Is when you like kids, especially, they say they have a tummy ache and really they're struggling with their anxiety about that transition. And so,
They have got a tummy ache, but
yeah,
it's anxiety. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and that's what I always struggled with when I like look back on my life. I was like, I had a tummy ache every single day at school, but if I had like Tums or Pepto-Bismol in my backpack, then I knew I could take it, then I wouldn't have a tummy ache. But if I didn't have that in my backpack and I would like get so anxious that I would like have to phone, right? Or I would, but if I had stuff in my backpack that I knew would help, then I never would take it. It's like
And
was
what was
like
it? You had medication in your backpack? What was it?
yeah, medication in my backpack for stomach ache.
It's a psychological. Yeah, I've got that there.
Yeah, it
The
was just
comfort
like I
blanket
have it
there.
there,
Yeah.
so if I need it, I'm fine. And what I realized now, looking at it as an adult, I was like, I didn't actually have a stomach ache. I just had anxiety.
And this is Amanda. This is the same in adults. Some of my best clients are people that I've coached, and
Mhm,
after that they keep me on, and it's what I almost call concierge coaching.
mhm,
Sometimes they just need me there, like
mhm,
as that comfort blanket, that medication in the bag. If
mhm,
there's a problem, they can call me and say, Grant, I'm going through this at work. I've got the staff members doing that. What do I do? They need that sounding board because when you're at the top, who's your sounding board?
mhm,
Yeah, you may have the directors around you, but it might be too close to the problem. Sometimes I need an external source, and I could be that quiet person that nobody knows and just listen to them and go for it because it is their equivalent of the medication in the rucksack.
mhm,
The fourth emergency service, as we sometimes jokingly call it, the coach in your pocket. And we have that. I mean, my message me just now, and I will get back to them straight after. And on a Voxer app, and it's coach in the pocket. It's me there. They don't have the phone number, but they have an app, and it's like I need an answer pretty quickly. I've got this problem going on. What shall I do? And I said, try this, try that, try that. You know, it's a quick concierge service. But sometimes it's just a sounding board, and that can be the business. It can be my daughter's giving me trouble at school.
Mhm.
You know, I think my wife's becoming an alcoholic. Could be I'm getting older, and I don't like the change. What do I do? It could be that. It could be like, what car do you think I should buy? What's my new identity? What car do I need? Right?
Mhm.
Men, cars, you know that sort of thing. Women, like exactly what Nomsa said. My daughter's gone to university. I don't have to walk the other one to school. Who am I now? What do I do? What's my role? I'm a bit confused. That's really what they're saying.
Mhm.
And life can be people, but going through that same transition as their kids, just a different set of scenarios. Going to school, with little school, now we're going to big school. Different people, different dynamics, different teachers. And I got a little bit of a flashback when you're saying this, ladies, about first day back at term. And I can promise you, I would have hated first day back at term. And
Yeah.
one thing I remembered, which I haven't thought about for decades, but caused me stress going back to school, because I really hated school. I
Mhm.
really hated school most of the time. Going back, new term, the smell of paint, it had always been painted. It felt new,
Mhm.
horrible. Teachers, they would outline what was going to cover in the next curriculum, and it sounded a lot. And if you got new books, as you got older, the print got smaller,
Mm.
but it felt more serious,
Yeah.
and it gave me anxiety.
Mhm.
That would make me anxious. It still would today, in something like that. I could still feel the anxiety from it. I remember being made to, I had a very bad teacher at one point, and she made me feel stupid in front of the whole class,
Mhm.
and it gave me anxiety.
Yeah.
It did. And I do not thank her for that at all.
No.
And if she was alive today and I found her, I would tell her exactly where she went wrong, because she was a nasty teacher. She shouldn't have been, in my opinion, shouldn't have been left around children. Not in a sexual way. I don't mean that, but she was just cruel. She just didn't like life. She wasn't happy with life, and she didn't like. She was horrible disciplinarian, horrible. Shouldn't have been allowed near children. Um, and she accused me of having accuse is the right word. She incorrectly identified me of having a speech impediment. And I had to go to speech therapy classes. And I went there, and within the first lesson, they said, "There's nothing wrong with you." It was a minor little thing. I just corrected it in about 2 minutes. Nothing wrong at all. And they gave me a note, handwritten note, gave my mother to take back. And my mother took me up to school and said to the teacher, I remember kids all queuing up to speak to the teacher. And she was there. So, oh, it's a note from speech therapy. Doesn't need to see her. Says nothing. Oh, okay, I'll read it out. Mum said, no, no. She said, I want to read this out in front of the class. And my mother was not very outspoken at all, but said, no, no, I'm going to speak, because she didn't want me to be victimized by the other kids as having a speech impediment. Clearly the speech therapist said, I don't have anything at all. So my mother said, right, kids sit down, and she read it out in front of the class. So they all heard categorically, there was no issue whatsoever. Um, and I remember mum said, I don't like that teacher. I'm not having to treat you like that. And
Mhm.
it's the only time my mother ever done that. Only time she ever needed to do it. And the teacher was horrid, completely horrid. Um, and yeah, that caused me anxiety, because she bullied, basically bullied kids. That I'm sure wouldn't happen today, wouldn't be allowed to have. That would have been wheedled out a long time ago. Um, but yeah, things like new term, new curriculum, new people. I mean, getting to know people. I was fairly talkative, no great surprise as a kid, so got on fairly well with most kids. But
Mhm.
I mean, what do you find causes anxiety in children?
Oh, it could be so many different things. Like I said, like each kid is different. So like one kid might get anxious because it's math time, right? And they don't like math. So math is a big, and then a different kid, if you ask them to like try to program like the robotics or something, that's like not their specialty, so that will cause them anxiety. So it's different for every kid because they have strengths in different areas and they have different interests. And so my goal as a teacher is to always like find something that everybody in the class can at some point in time feel successful in, even if they're that kid that like can't read, can't do math, can't write a sentence, they'll feel successful at least somewhere in something that we've done throughout the year. And I think that should be like every teacher's goal, because it's not just about like reading, writing, and math. We need to like think outside the box and think about how can we make kids feel successful, even when we are stuck with a like pretty rigid curriculum and rigid things on what we can and cannot like assess, right? Because there's different, like if you're super talkative, obviously you become successful in an area of work that allows you to talk. Whereas kids in school, if they're talkative, they're generally like shunned for being interruptive. But I try to look at it as like, how can we like look at that as a strength and then like utilize that strength, and like maybe they do more presentations, or maybe you give them more of a chance to like go for walks and like deliver things to other teachers so that they can be talking, right?
Got
But
it.
I do have to start getting going because I have to go to work. But I really have enjoyed this conversation around just like I said at the beginning, Grant, like I'm sure almost anybody listening could look back and think about a time they felt like anxiety, right? Whether it was about a big test coming up, whether it was about the first day of school, whether it was about having a certain kid in their class that was like really mean to them,
Yeah.
whether it was about getting bullied about something that you wore one day, or like the shape of your nose, or you have big ears, or like whatever it is, there's
Right. Yeah.
something that you can look back on and be like, kids were not nice to me, or a teacher was not nice to me, or something that caused you anxiety. And then how were you able to overcome it? Or even now, just speaking about it, do you go back and you're like, whoa, I can already feel that anxiety in my body,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And then how do you navigate that when you can feel it and when those anxious moments do show up?
It's a good point. It is a very, very good point. So it's identification, right? Identifying that thing happening to you.
It's like just begin to notice, like, oh, I'm feeling anxious. Okay, now that I'm feeling anxious, what is it that I'm going to do? Am I going to go meditate? Am I going to go for a walk? Am I going to go sit in nature? Am I going to just like really sit with this and see like, why is this coming up for me and what is it connected to? There's a lot of different things that you can do, but I think really the first step is naming it.
Good, naming it. Yeah. Okay. So name what the thing is. I mean, there's certain techniques you can do for kids. I mean, or for people, humans, actually. Um, you can, a simple process I'll go is that if you feel that anxiety, you described it, Amanda, as that brick on your chest, right?
Mhm.
That's how you see it, how you expect that brick on the chest. So if you identify it, you just say you name it. Where is it? Winston Churchill used to call his depression black dog.
Mhm.
That was his name for it. That's how he saw it in his mind. It doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. That's how he identified it. But if you feel that, where is it? So we say to people, I get that anxious feeling, and it's a thing called spinning, a spinning hypnotic technique. You can do it yourself. Just look at it. Is that where are you experiencing that? Oh, you're experiencing it in your chest, for example. Okay, whereabouts in your chest? Upper, lower, here. Right. Is it outside your chest? Is it in your chest? It's in your chest. Does it have a shape? There's no right or wrong shape. Is it round? Is it square? Whatever. Is it still or does it move? Does it go up and down or does it spin? If it spins, which way is it spinning? It's spinning clockwise. Okay. What color is it? There's no right or wrong color, just whatever color you see it. Okay. Is it weak? Is it dense? And later, what we do is we get people to breathe. And if, let's say, it's a blue ball spinning that way, for example, what would be the great color? What would be, color of calmness? How would you want that to feel? Oh, I want it to feel happy or calm. So let's say calm. Oh, you calm. What color would calm be? Calm would be yellow, for example. Okay. Okay. And calm would be good. Yeah. Okay. So as it spins, you see this blue thing spinning that way. Let's get them to slow that spinning down. Slow it down. until it stops. Then just get it to move slowly the other way. Faster, faster, and notice it's starting to change color. The blue starts fading out, the yellow starts coming in until it becomes yellow. Faster, 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 faster. What kind of yellow? Weak yellow, dark yellow, deep yellow, whatever color it is, make it that, make it that, make it that. Bring it out of the body, look at it, see it, grow, and slam it back in your body and go all the way from your body, from your head to your toe. Spinning technique tends to work very, very well if you do it. Better if someone does it for you, but it's a great way to slow it down in the process because it's only our belief and how we choose to see it. It can be devastatingly effective. Okay, spinning.
14 minutes past, Amanda.
All right.
I have to go, guys. Have a great day.
All right.
See you next
I'll see you
week.
next
All
week.
right.
Fun and
Take
with
care.
living that as well. Grant, do you have any words of encouragement?
That was it. There you go. You got it. That's it. But be kind to yourself. Be gentle to yourself. Identify where the problem is. Identify where it is. Identify what's causing it for you and what would make it better. And if you can't make it better, who can? If they could, if you can't speak to them, who could speak on your behalf to that person to make it better? If there's a conflict between people, what's the common ground? If you want that and you want that, what can you both agree upon so that you can find a common ground and work towards that together and therefore bring yourself together? And that's another therapy technique, which I'll maybe, which I share with clients, but stuff like that. But effectively, that's it. Identify. If there's a conflict in your mind, there's something we call perceptual positions. Perceptual positions. So, for example, it's a therapy which I walk people through. It's a way of allowing yourself to see the other person's point of view. Because in life, we only see life through our lens. Why the hell's Nomsa asking me to do that? I want to do that. I want to do that. Yeah, from your point of view. Try seeing it from Nomsa's point of view. So when we try to see it from other persons, oh, they've got this job to do, they need to get that done. I want to do that. What's the common ground? We both actually want to achieve this, but you've got to do it that way. Why don't you communicate that with each other in a non-emotional manner? Really important. Emotions high, intelligence low. Emotion comes high, the intelligence comes down. In a non-emotional way, why don't you just explain that to people, communicate it, and most things are manageable. Most things are fixable when we do it that way. There's more to the process than that, but that's the schematic of it, and that's how you can help kids. But the key way of helping children is to help them feel understood, not told off. Is to, like you said, no one understands. What do you mean? Unpack it. What do you mean nobody understands? When it unpacks it, they just want to do a course. Like, did you tell me? No. Well, tell me. Communicate it. Encourage. Learn good communication skills yourself. Because if you can't expect the kids to have great communication skills if you haven't. If you don't know, we can certainly help you with communication. So help you communicate it, because communication is the key to calmness and to reduce anxiety. That's my words of encouragement. So it's all fixable. Nomsa, over to you.
Yeah, for me, I will say just set realistic expectations with your child. You don't have to eliminate their anxiety, because in that process is not the goal. Instead, is to help them learn how to live with it. And also, as a parent, learn to mind your own business as well, because some parents, they like to interfere. It's hard. Mind your own business. I've learned that the hard way. They can still do hard things as well. Don't let them take the easy way out, even if they're scared. This will be what psychologists call a tolerance and a key ingredients in a long-term emotional health. So just your job as a parent is just there to guide them through, because sometimes the anxiety comes through fear. that they can't do things. And like Amanda said, it could be maths, a subject, and people feel, I don't know what's wrong with maths. Everybody, even my daughter, she was like,
Maths.
if I have to practice everything, it has to be maths because it's a hard subject.
It
But
can
she's
be.
a smart kid, but I think it's the expectations that they set that everything has to be 100%, but that's not the case when it comes to life. 80% is still good enough. So
I,
yeah, so just guide them through and mind your own business, because some parents don't know how to mind their own business. I've learned this the hard way, that when it comes to children, is
I'm going to ask a lady who was normally on one of my groups last night. She's in New York. She runs a math school.
okay.
I was a nice lady. She loves maths, and she's got special students who go there. And I said, we had this conversation a few weeks ago, and I said, I didn't particularly like maths. It looks scary. It looks scary. Yeah, it's psychological. But I had a very laid back maths teacher. Who is what happened?
I don't know. Can you hear you?
Oh, sorry, my screen minimized. I thought I got cut off. Um,
No.
but the maths teacher said he was a very laconic sort of guy. He was my house tutor, and he took us for some. He wasn't actually. Yeah, he was my maths teacher at one point, and he said to kids, and there's one nice thing that changed my attitude towards maths. He said, "Look, I don't understand." He was like that, very laid back. I don't understand why kids find maths hard. He said because like maths isn't difficult. It's easy. It's for lazy people. He said, I'm lazy. He said, you haven't got to think of anything. You just follow the method and it gives you the answers for you. And I was like, oh, that kind of took the pressure off. If you just learn that method and apply it, you'll be right. That's all. You just got to learn the method. And
Yeah, I think she's right.
I'm
Just
not
learning.
a major or anything like that,
Yeah.
but I was okay at it. Um,
I think there are some teachers they explain things very easy, where you find it easy,
hmm.
but some they make it very complicated.
Yeah, I remember, right? Maths, I did cause me a lot of stress when I first went to my secondary school. I had a Indian teacher, and he did used to get me really upset about maths. He was very good at it. He clearly liked it. He explained it in a very factual manner. I don't know. I just found it really stressful. I don't know why, because I'm perfectly smart enough to do it. Um, it was the vibe that he created around it. And he didn't mean to do it. He wasn't a nasty man, but I'm trying to remember. It was quite ugh, a cold, horrible atmosphere that was created. But the other one was very laconic, very laid back. It was good. We had a deputy head who stood in for a good maths teacher once. He was off sick and he stood in, and it became very clear that this deputy head was probably promoted to a role that, yeah, he was clearly a great teacher. He was a great teacher. And he was funny. He was animated. He was explaining mathematics by standing on the desk and jumping around. He was a bundle of fun. It was great. And I just thought, why are more teachers not like that? He was clearly a great teacher, and he'd been stuck in his desk in his office as a deputy head, and he clearly missed teaching. And he reveled at the chance to jump back in and teach kids maths. And it was the best maths lesson I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah, some people are gifted just to make life very easy and simple for other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that gift is not everyone has it.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, if you're watching from any part of social media, please do subscribe to our channel and go to the website and sign up if you want to sign up, and follow us. You can follow Grandy as well. If you need coaching, you can sign up for coaching as well. We don't want you guys to be followers. Just sign up for coaching and do the work.
Yeah.
God bless everyone and live with grace.